In February of 2001, 17 software developers met at a ski lodge in Utah. Ordinarily, something like this would be for a hackathon, where a bunch of engineers meet somewhere cool and make a really cool piece or pieces of software. But that wasn't what was happening here. These guys were extremely frustrated. Projects were bloated, teams were slow, customers were disappointed and waiting forever for anything to get built. And every engineer seemed to be getting caught up in the same red tape over and over and over again when they were trying to ship product. So they skied and debated, and after a few days, they produced a document that would forever change productivity and software development. And they called it the Agile Manifesto. Now, if you've worked in software development or you've been in a product team, you've probably heard Agile or Scrum used before, and everybody has a different meaning, but most people don't actually know the basic principles of Agile and don't realize that anybody can be Agile, not just software development teams. And doing things agilely in your regular business life or employee life will make you a lot more productive. Now, the Agile Manifesto all comes down to these 4 principles they outlined in the document. Individuals and interaction over process and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. Now, this is a highly debated topic, but I'm going to tell you right now, from my perspective, if you follow these 4 principles of the Agile Manifesto, you are Agile. It doesn't have to be complicated. There doesn't have to be a Scrum Master involved. You just have to be following those 4 core tenets, and you will be Agile. Now, let's talk about how you or anybody else can adopt these Agile principles to make themselves more productive by using a very simple Agile board. Now, I'm going to use ClickUp for this Agile board, but you don't even have to use software to make this. In fact, in the beginning, I encourage you to use a whiteboard and sticky notes for your first Agile board, because there's something about the tactile feel of taking a sticky note and moving it through phases of a board. But if you don't have access to a whiteboard, software will work just fine. Now, there are several versions of an Agile whiteboard, and there's going to be some debate, I'm sure, about the Agile board that I'm using, but I think this is going to be a great start for most people. This Agile board has 5 statuses that every task can fit into, no matter the task. Those statuses are backlog, to do, in progress, block, and complete. Every task can go into one of those categories. To break it down simply, your backlog is everything that you know you need to do, regardless of priority, regardless of what project it's associated with. Your backlog is the catch-all for everything that you might possibly have to do. To do are the tasks that you're pulling out of your backlog to get done that day or that working period. In progress are obviously the tasks that you are actively working on. And blocked is a status that you might not see in all Agile boards. I put it in mine because my work is dependent on a lot of other people. For me, the block status stands for any task that you cannot complete because an external source is keeping you from doing so. For example, if you're a website company and you're publishing a new site for a client and you are waiting on their yes that they approve the copy so that you can push the site live. That work might be all the way done, but you just need that final yes from the customer to get it to complete. So that will go in the block status because you have pushed it as far as you can go without an external source getting it through to the finish line. And finally, the close status is for any tasks that are completely done. Now, just a quick warning, if you adopt this mental framework in this Agile process, you will start looking at your whole life through an Agile board, because everything in your life fits into one of those 5 statuses. It's either something that you have to do that you don't know when you'll get to do, but you know you have to do it. It's something you are about to do. You're in the act of doing it. You had to stop doing it because something stopped you from doing it, or it's done. Everything falls into one of those 5 categories. Everything. Now, let's talk about how you are going to use this Agile board. First, you're going to fill in your backlog. Now, there's ordinarily 2 ways that you're going to fill your backlog. The first way is at the beginning of every week or on Sunday night, whenever you do your planning, you're going to fill in your backlog with everything that you think you need to do, everything new that's come up. That's the first way you fill your backlog. The second way you fill your backlog is when you're sitting around working, you get a new email, something happens that generates a to-do item for you. You're going to put it in your backlog. Now, pro tip, if you want to make yourself really successful with this, when you put something into your backlog, make sure it has a due date, a priority, and a category. Now, this isn't required, but it is going to make it much easier for you to get things done if you are prioritizing, categorizing, and giving everything a due date. It will really help your ability to plan what you're doing. So that's the first thing, filling up your backlog. Next, you have to establish a cadence. For most people, if you've never done an Agile process or you've never used a board like this, I would make it every day. So at the beginning of every day, spend 10 minutes looking through your backlog and figuring out what you're pulling out from your backlog and putting in the to-do status. That is everything you were going to get done that working day. Now, if in the business you're in, most tasks take you multiple days, maybe you'll want to do one of these planning sessions every few days. So maybe once a week or twice a week, you sit down with your backlog and you're going to pull out all of the tasks that you're going to get done in the next 3 days or the next 5 days or whatever the cadence is. Now, this might sound super easy, but this is going to completely completely alleviate the mental burden that you have when you sit down at your desk and you can't figure out what to do. This to-do list that you've created from your backlog is going to become the thing that makes you more productive than anybody else you know, because you actually know what it is that you're going to be working on when you sit down at your desk, which in all the years of automating businesses, the biggest struggle I see entrepreneurs have is not knowing what to do next. That won't exist for you anymore. So once you've made your backlog and moved things from your backlog to the to-do section of your board, next you're actually going to start on the work. So every time you start on a piece of work from your backlog, it's going to go to the in progress category. And it's either going to go backwards to do or the backlog, or it's going to go forwards to blocked or complete. Now, quick note on the block status, you don't want to put anything in that status if you are the blocker. If you are the blocker, do what it takes to complete the task. The block status is when there's an external source keeping you from getting that task done. The block status can become a crutch because people will put stuff there when they feel like they don't want to do the work or that it's too hard to do the work. So they'll put it there and say that it's blocked for some reason that they make up. Do not use the block status that way. So your job is now to get everything out of the in progress and block statuses every day when you sit down for work. When you sit down, you will have things in your to-dos, things that are in progress, and things that are blocked. Get everything out of the in progress and block statuses as fast as you can and move it to that closed status. That is your number one priority. Get things out of those two statuses. Now that you have tasks spread between backlog, to-do, in progress, and block, at the beginning of every day, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go through each of your block tasks and you are going to do something to follow up on each of them to get them moved out of block. That's the first thing you're going to do. It's quick. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. Send the text, send the emails, do whatever you need to do. Figure out how to get those tasks unblocked and moved back to in progress. The second thing that you're going to do is see where you're at with all the in progress tasks, pick the most important one with the closest due date, and start working on getting that thing moved into closed. And that's going to be your daily cadence. If there's things on the in progress and blocked board, you're going to start with those and try to get them moved to closed. If not, you're going to pick the things out of to do and start on them. If there's nothing there, you're going to find stuff in your backlog and put it in the to do column. Now, typically at the end of your work week, you're going to look back at your Agile board, see how much is left in the backlog, see what's in progress, see what's currently blocked, and take a mental note of how much you got done, how much is left, how much needs to get kicked into the next working period. And you can now use that to plan the next week or the next day or the next working period or whatever cadence it is that you have set up. Now, in order for this very simple system to work, you have to put everything on this board. And I mean everything. Everything that's taking up space in your head that you know that you need to do needs to go on this board first. If you get in the habit of organizing your brain this way and organizing your working systems this way, you will get more done than you have ever gotten done in your entire life. This very simple board is based on the system that those 17 engineers came up with over 20 years ago and has been making people and teams wildly productive since then. It's incredibly simple. It's not fancy. It's not super sexy, but it is time and battle tested, and it will help you get your shit done.